Hey all you cool cats and kittens, Chef Caralee here, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today in the kitchen we are making Indian naan bread. If you've never had Indian naan bread before, it's really similar to pita bread and other flatbreads that can be found throughout the world. In fact, right now with everyone staying at home, people all over the world are trying their hand at making bread and becoming bakers. That's why you might have a hard time finding flour and yeast for this recipe at your grocery store, but just keep checking back, and I know that they restock the shelves all the time. So, for our recipe today, you're going to need just a few simple ingredients. First, you're going to need 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Next, you'll need 1 teaspoon of sugar. We are also going to need 1 cup of warm water, about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Another ingredient that you're going to need is all-purpose baking flour. You'll need 2.5 cups for this recipe and a little extra for our kneading. You'll need 1 teaspoon of salt, and we're going to need 1/2 cup plus 2 teaspoons of clarified butter. So I invite you to throw your hair up, go wash your hands, and let's get started. Hey, thanks for taking the time to go wash your hands. Now let's get started with step 1. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our measuring cup and our measuring spoons and add our yeast, our sugar, and our water all in here and mix it together. So our recipe says we need 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Unfortunately, I misplaced my teaspoon, but I still have my 1/2 teaspoon. So with that, I'm going to measure out 4 of these so that I get the same amount as 2 teaspoons, because 4 times 1/2 equals 2. Now, after you add your yeast, make sure you add your sugar. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. So it takes 2 halves to make 1 whole. So I'm going to measure 2 of these to get 1 whole teaspoon. Alright, there's 1 teaspoon of sugar. And now we're going to add 1 cup of our warm water. Now remember, if you're at home and you have a thermometer you can put into liquids, you can go ahead and measure this out and make sure it's around 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, so using our measuring cup, we are going to fill it up to the 1 cup line, just like we did in the oobleck video. Once you've done this, you can stir it well, and then you're going to let it sit for 5 minutes until it becomes nice and foamy. Step 2. So while that's sitting for 5 minutes, we can go ahead and prepare our bowl with our other ingredients. We're going to go ahead and mix together the flour and the salt. So measure out 2.5 cups of flour into a medium-sized mixing bowl. Again, I'm using a measuring cup that says 1 cup. I'm going to measure 2.5 cups of our flour. And then you're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Again, I don't have my full teaspoon, so I'm going to use my half teaspoon and do 2 halves to make 1 whole. You're welcome to use a sifter to mix this up in your bowl, but personally I'm going to use a fork. Alright, now that it's been 5 minutes, we can add our yeast mix into our flour. So, since your flour mix is in your bowl, what you want to do is with your hand, go ahead and make a little well in the center here. Here is our well that we made with our hands. And I'm going to go ahead and add our yeast mix. We're also going to add the half cup of our butter. Once you've added all of your ingredients, let's go ahead and mix it together. Okay, so once you've mixed all of your dough together, we're going to transfer it to a lightly floured area and knead it for 3 minutes. Just make sure that you disinfect the area really well. Germs are something of a priority right now, and we want to keep our kitchen a safe and awesome clean space. So we're going to knead our bread for 3 minutes. Alright, now that we've kneaded our dough, we're going to transfer it into a bowl, a new mixing bowl that we have coated with the other 2 teaspoons of clarified butter. And we are going to take it, put it in there, and then we're going to move it around just so that we coat the dough with the butter. Now, after your dough is coated with butter, you want to get some plastic wrap, a damp cloth, or maybe a wet paper towel, which is what I'm going to use today. And you're going to cover your dough up in the bowl. And then we're going to let it sit for 1 hour. So go set your timer, go for a walk, read a good book, take a nap, and then I'll see you in 1 hour. Now that it's almost been 1 hour, we're going to go ahead and preheat our oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Hey, welcome back. So now that it's been an hour and our dough has had time to rise, it's time for us to prepare it for the oven. What I've done here is I've created a station at my kitchen table with all of my ingredients and tools. So we have our dough that has had time to rise. We have a lightly floured area. I'm using a cutting board. And we have our already prepared cooking sheet. So like I said earlier, you don't have to use a rolling pin. If you don't have one, you can use your hands to flatten it out, knead it together. That's what I'm doing. You can make a makeshift rolling pin at your house. Just make sure you flour it really well so that it doesn't stick together. Yeah, you want to make your pieces of pita bread about 5 to 6 inches in diameter. I can probably make that even a little bigger. Okay, it looks like our bread is ready to go in the oven. I cannot wait to eat this naan. We're going to cook it on 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes until golden brown. Alright, now after all of our hard work, we finally get to try our naan bread. Looks like someone else here wants to try the bread too. Stevie! But first, let's take a bite. I hope you all enjoy your naan bread. Share it with your family or your dogs. And I'll see you next time. Bye!